Backs against the wall. The void of space held no comfort for Commander Elena Reeves as she stood on the bridge of the ESS Intrepid, her fingers digging into the command console. The holographic display showed what she already knew. Humanity was losing this war, and losing it badly. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Lieutenant Cassidy didn't look up from his station. "The Coran fleet has broken through the Saturn defense line. 27 ships lost. Estimates show their main force will reach Earth orbit in less than 72 hours. The bridge fell silent. 3 years of brutal war against the Coran Empire had pushed humanity to the brink. Earth's united military forces had fought valiantly, but their technology was simply outmatched. The alien vessels moved faster, hit harder, and absorbed punishment that would shatter human ships. "And Jupiter Station?" Elena asked. "Holding, Commander, but barely. Their shields are at 17%. Elena nodded, studying the tactical display. The Coran ships, sleek, angular vessels that resembled obsidian arrowheads, sliced through space with terrifying efficiency. Their energy weapons could tear through Earth's best shields like tissue paper. "Send word to Admiral Winters. Tell him we need to pull back and consolidate our remaining forces around Earth. We can't afford to lose any more ships in isolated engagements." As the message was relayed, Elena stepped away from the console and moved to the viewport. Stars glittered against the blackness, indifferent to humanity's plight. Somewhere out there, the Coran Emperor was watching, waiting for his forces to claim yet another world for his expanding empire. The Coran had arrived 3 years ago, their massive ships darkening Earth's skies. They offered humanity a simple choice: submission or extinction. Humanity chose to fight. The war had united Earth's nations like nothing before. Old enemies became allies, pooling resources and technology in a desperate bid for survival. But unity hadn't been enough. Not against an enemy centuries more advanced. "Commander," Cassidy's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Incoming transmission from Mars Research Facility." Elena frowned. The Mars base was supposed to be evacuated weeks ago. "Put it through." The holographic display flickered, and the face of Dr. Aisha Rahman appeared. The scientist's eyes were wide with excitement despite her disheveled appearance. "Commander Reeves, we found it," she said, her voice crackling with static. The artifact was right where the ancient texts suggested, buried beneath the Valles Marineris, and it's beyond anything we could have imagined. Elena's heart quickened. "The weapon?" Dr. Rahman nodded, her eyes darting to something off-screen. "Not just a weapon, Commander. It's a complete schematic for a warship unlike anything humanity has ever built. We believe it dates back to the pre-collapse era, technology our ancestors possessed before the Great Calamity sent us back to the Stone Age." "Can we build it?" Elena asked, a flicker of hope kindling in her chest. "We already have," Dr. Rahman replied. "Under the Mars facility. We've been working around the clock since we discovered the schematics 6 months ago. The prototype is nearly operational." Elena couldn't believe what she was hearing. 6 months. How did you keep this quiet? Admiral Winters authorized a blackout. He was worried the Coran might have spies within our communications network. Smart, Elena thought. The old admiral had always been paranoid. Now it might save them all. "What exactly are we looking at, Doctor?" Dr. Rahman's face was replaced by rotating schematics of a massive vessel. Unlike the sleek, streamlined designs of current human ships, this was a behemoth, angular and imposing, bristling with weapon systems that Elena didn't recognize. "We're calling it a dreadnought," Dr. Rahman explained as the image rotated. "It's 3 times the size of our largest battleship, with armor composed of layered nanomaterials that can regenerate during battle. The weapons systems use principles we're still trying to understand. Some form of directed energy that can bypass conventional shields entirely." Elena studied the design, her tactical mind already calculating possibilities. "One ship won't turn the tide of this war. We're building more, Dr. Rahman replied. The first prototype has helped us streamline the process. We have 5 more in production, using automated construction systems hidden throughout the asteroid belt. The Corin haven't detected them yet. For the first time in months, Alina felt something other than despair. How soon? The prototype will be operational within 48 hours. The others will follow within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. The Corin would reach Earth in 3 days. They needed to buy time. Keep me updated, Doctor. And good work. As the transmission ended, Alina turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant, I want a new battle plan. We need to slow the Corin advance by any means necessary. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of desperate battles. The remaining human fleet engaged in hit-and-run attacks, sacrificing ships to delay the Corin advance. Alina watched the casualty reports with a heavy heart, knowing each life lost was buying precious time for Dr. Rahman's team. Then, as the massive Corin armada approached Earth's orbit, the transmission arrived from Mars. One word: ready. Alina stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, watching as Earth's remaining defenses engaged the Corin fleet. Thousands of ships filled the viewport, energy weapons painting streaks of light across the blackness. Earth's orbital defense platforms, massive gun emplacements that had taken years to build, fired continuously, but the Corin shields absorbed most of the damage. All ships form defensive pattern Alpha, Alina ordered. Concentrate fire on their command vessel. The human fleet moved into position, a final line of defense between the Corin armada and Earth. They were outnumbered 5-1, their ships already damaged from previous engagements. Commander, Cassidy said, his voice tight with tension, the Corin are broadcasting on all frequencies. Let's hear it, Alina replied. The bridge speakers crackled to life, and a deep, modulated voice filled the air. People of Earth, your resistance ends today. Your cities will burn, your oceans will boil, and your species will be erased from memory. This is the fate of all who defy the Corin Empire. Alina's jaw tightened. No response. Maintain battle positions. The Corin fleet advanced, their formation precise and unwavering. The first volley from their weapons cut through 3 human cruisers like they were made of paper. Shields failing on multiple ships, Cassidy reported. We can't hold this position. Alina watched the tactical display, calculating options that were rapidly dwindling to 0. Then a new signal appeared on her private channel. Commander Reeves, this is Dr. Rahman. The dreadnought is approaching your position. Designation: ESS Prometheus. Alina's eyes widened. Where? Behind you. The Corin won't see it coming. Alina turned to the tactical display just as a massive energy signature appeared at the edge of the solar system. Moving faster than any human ship should be capable of, it accelerated toward the battlefield. All ships, Alina ordered, prepare to break formation on my mark. I want everyone clear of Grid Sector 7. Confusion rippled through the command channel, but no one questioned her orders. The human fleet maintained its position as the Corin advanced, their massive ships now close enough to see individual weapon emplacements. Break formation now, Alina commanded. As the human ships scattered, the void behind them seemed to ripple. A massive vessel materialized where none had been before, its angular form dwarfing even the largest Corin battleship. The dreadnought had arrived. Without warning, the Prometheus opened fire. Beams of energy unlike anything Alina had ever seen lanced out, cutting through the Corin shields as if they weren't there. 3 enemy battleships erupted into plumes of fire and debris. The Corin fleet, caught by surprise, attempted to regroup. Their return fire splashed harmlessly against the dreadnought's regenerating armor. All ships, Alina ordered, a fierce smile spreading across her face, rally to the Prometheus. Target the Corin flanks. Let's show them humanity isn't finished yet. As the battle turned, Alina knew this was just the beginning. The war was far from over, but for the first time, humanity had hope. The dreadnoughts had arrived, and the tide was about to turn. Turning the tide. The Prometheus moved through the devastation of battle like a vengeful ghost, its massive frame absorbing punishment that would have annihilated any other human vessel. Commander Elena Reeves stood on its bridge, watching as the Coran fleet scrambled to respond to this unexpected threat. "Status report," she demanded, still adjusting to the dreadnought's advanced systems. She had transferred her flag to the prototype vessel once it arrived, leaving Captain Javier in command of the Intrepid. Lieutenant Nakamura, one of the few officers trained on the new systems, responded without looking up from his station. "Weapons at 93% capacity. Regenerative shielding functioning at optimal levels. We've destroyed 17 Coran vessels and damaged at least 30 more." Elena nodded, studying the tactical display. The massive Coran fleet that had seemed unstoppable mere hours ago was now in disarray. Their precise formations had broken apart as they tried to counter the Prometheus's devastating weaponry. "They're adapting," she noted, watching as the Coran ships began to coordinate their attacks, focusing fire on specific sections of the dreadnought's hull. "Typical Coran tactics: find a weakness and exploit it." "Should we pull back?" asked Colonel Wei, her second in command. Elena shook her head. "No, we press the advantage. The other dreadnoughts will be operational soon. Until then, we need to keep the Coran off balance." She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Commander Reeves. Form up on the Prometheus. We're pushing into the heart of their formation." The remaining human vessels, cruisers, destroyers, and frigates that had been fighting a losing battle for months, moved into position around the massive dreadnought. There was a palpable sense of renewed determination in their movements. As the human fleet advanced, the Coran attempted to regroup. Their command vessel, a massive ship twice the size of their standard battleships, began broadcasting signals to coordinate a counterattack. "They're bringing in reinforcements," Nakamura reported, indicating new signals appearing at the edge of the system. "Looks like they've called in their reserve fleet from the Mars Occupation Force." Elena studied the incoming signals. "How long until they arrive?" 2 hours, maybe less. Not enough time to finish this battle. Elena made a quick decision. Target their command vessel. All weapons. The Prometheus's main batteries locked onto the Coran flagship, energy built within the massive cannons, creating a hum that resonated through the ship. When they fired, the beams cut through space like lightning, striking the Coran vessel with devastating precision. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, secondary explosions rippled across the alien ship's hull. Its shields flickered and died, and subsequent blasts tore through critical systems. The massive vessel listed to one side, venting atmosphere and debris. "Direct hit," Nakamura confirmed. "Their command ship is crippled." Without central coordination, the Coran fleet's movements became erratic. Some ships continued fighting, while others began retreating toward the safety of their reinforcements. Elena allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before focusing on the tactical situation. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. The Coran Empire spanned dozens of star systems. This defeat would sting, but it wouldn't break them. "All ships, secure Earth orbit. Prepare to receive wounded and begin repairs. We have 2 hours before their reinforcements arrive." As the human fleet regrouped, Elena received a transmission from Mars. "Commander, this is Dr. Rahman. 3 more dreadnoughts are operational and heading your way. ETA 90 minutes. Elena's expression hardened with determination. "Good. Have them proceed directly to these coordinates. I want them in position before the Coran reinforcements arrive." For the next hour, the human fleet worked frantically to regroup. Damaged ships were evacuated, with critical personnel transferred to more intact vessels. The Prometheus, despite absorbing the brunt of the Coran attacks, remained largely operational, a testament to its advanced design. As the final preparations were being made, Elena called a meeting of her senior officers in the dreadnought's tactical room. "The Coran will return with everything they have," she began, addressing the grim-faced officers. They've never faced defeat like this, and their emperor doesn't tolerate failure. We've bloodied their nose, but now they'll come at us with their full strength. She activated a holographic display showing the solar system. Our intelligence suggests their main fleet is gathered near their home world, Chorus Prime. Until now, we haven't had the capability to strike so deep into their territory. Colonel Wei studied the display. You're suggesting an offensive operation, with just 4 dreadnoughts. Precisely, Alina confirmed. The Coran expect us to remain defensive, protecting Earth. They'll never anticipate us striking directly at their heart. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. For 3 years, humanity had been fighting a desperate defensive war. The idea of taking the fight to the enemy seemed almost unthinkable. Dr. Rahman, Alina continued, nodding to the scientist who had joined via hologram. Tell them what you discovered about the dreadnought's drive systems. Rahman's image flickered as she spoke. The propulsion technology is unlike anything in our current arsenal. It doesn't just move through space, it folds it. Based on our calculations, the dreadnoughts can reach the Coran homeworld in less than a week. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the assembled officers. Current human ships would take months to make such a journey. This is our chance, Alina pressed. We take 3 dreadnoughts and strike directly at Chorus Prime, while the 4th remains here to defend Earth with our conventional fleet. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then Admiral Winters, who had joined from his command post on Luna, cleared his throat. It's a gamble, Commander. If you fail, we lose our best ships and officers. If we stay defensive, we're just delaying the inevitable. Alina countered. The Coran will keep coming until they've wiped us out. This way, we have a chance to end the war in one stroke. Slowly, the officers began to nod. The plan was audacious, perhaps even reckless, but it offered something they hadn't had in years, a path to victory. As the meeting concluded, Alina returned to the bridge to oversee the arrival of the new dreadnoughts. One by one, they emerged from faster-than-light travel. The Odysseus, the Orion, and the Phoenix. Each was identical to the Prometheus in design, but displayed subtle variations in their weapon configurations. Just as the last dreadnought took position, the sensors detected the approach of the Coran reinforcements. They've arrived earlier than expected, Nakamura reported. At least 200 ships. Alina nodded, unsurprised. The Coran are nothing if not thorough. All ships, battle positions. Let's show them what these dreadnoughts can really do. The ensuing battle was short but fierce. The Coran, now aware of the dreadnought's capabilities, attempted to overwhelm them with sheer numbers. But the ancient technology incorporated into the massive ships proved too advanced. Energy weapons cut through Coran formations, while regenerative armor absorbed countermeasures that would have destroyed conventional vessels. Within 3 hours, the Coran reinforcements were in full retreat, leaving behind dozens of destroyed or disabled ships. Alina stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching as the enemy fled back toward the safety of their empire. It was time for the next phase. Prepare for deep space operations, she ordered. The Prometheus, Odysseus, and Orion will form our strike group. The Phoenix will remain in Earth orbit under Captain Hernandez's command. The preparations took another 2 days. Crews were shuffled to ensure each dreadnought had experienced personnel in key positions. Supplies were loaded and final system checks were performed. On the morning of the 3rd day, Alina addressed the combined crews of the strike force. For 3 years we fought to survive, she began, her voice carried to every corner of the 3 massive ships. We've lost friends, family, entire colonies to the Coran onslaught. Today, we take the fight to them. She paused, looking at the determined faces before her. Our mission is simple. Strike at the heart of the Coran Empire and force them to the negotiating table. They believe themselves invincible. We're going to show them they're not. A cheer rose from the assembled crews, echoing through the dreadnought's cavernous halls. 6 days later, the 3 dreadnoughts emerged from folded space at the edge of the Coran home system. The journey that should have taken months had passed in less than a week. Alina studied the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Dozens of Coran ships orbited their homeworld, a blue-green planet not unlike Earth. They had no warning of the human fleet's arrival. "All ships, battle formation Delta," she ordered. "Target their orbital defenses and command centers. Avoid civilian areas." The dreadnoughts moved forward in perfect synchronization, their massive forms cutting through space toward the unsuspecting planet. The Coran response was chaotic at first, then increasingly coordinated as their military command structure recovered from the shock. Ships moved to intercept the human vessels, while planetary defense systems activated, their energy signatures flaring on the tactical displays. "They're hailing us," Nakamura reported, surprise evident in his voice. "Put it through," Alina replied. The main screen flickered, and the image of a Coran appeared. With its gray-scaled skin and 4 glowing eyes, the alien's appearance had once struck fear into human hearts. Now, Alina noted the tension in its posture, the uncertainty in its gaze. "Human vessels," the Coran began, its translator converting the clicks and whistles of its native language into English. "You have violated sovereign Coran space. Withdraw immediately or face destruction." Alina stepped forward, her expression resolute. "I am Commander Alina Reeves of Earth's Defense Force. For 3 years, you've waged a war of extermination against my people. Today that ends." She gestured to the tactical officer, who transmitted data to the Coran ship. "These are our terms: immediate cessation of hostilities, withdrawal from all human territories, and reparations for the colonies you've destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond before we commence attacks on your military installations." The Coran commander's eyes flashed with anger, but also with something Alina hadn't seen before in their kind: fear. "The Emperor will never agree to these terms," it hissed. "Then the Emperor will watch his capital burn," Alina replied coldly. 1 hour. As the transmission ended, Alina turned to her officers. "Prepare all weapons systems. If they refuse to negotiate, we strike hard and fast." The hour passed in tense silence. The Coran fleet continued to grow as ships from across the system converged on the capital, but they maintained their distance, clearly wary of the dreadnought's capabilities. As the deadline approached, Nakamura spoke up. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the Emperor himself." Alina straightened her uniform. On screen, the image that appeared was of a Coran larger than any Alina had seen before, adorned with ceremonial armor that glittered with precious metals. Its 4 eyes burned with barely contained rage. "Commander Reeves," the Emperor began, its voice deeper than the standard Coran, "you have shown unexpected resourcefulness. My advisors tell me your weapons could cause significant damage to our world." "They're correct," Alina replied simply. The Emperor was silent for a moment, its alien features unreadable. "We have underestimated humanity's resolve. Perhaps negotiations are in order." 3 weeks later, Alina stood in the United Earth Council chamber, the peace treaty displayed on screens around the room. The terms were better than anyone could have hoped for. The Coran would withdraw from all human territories, establish a demilitarized zone between their empire and human space, and provide resources to rebuild the colonies they had destroyed. "You've accomplished the impossible, Commander," Admiral Winters said, his weathered face showing the first real smile in years. "Not just defeating the Coran, but securing a lasting peace." Alina nodded, but her mind was already turning to the future. The dreadnoughts had saved humanity, but they had also revealed a startling truth. Humanity's ancestors had possessed technology far beyond current understanding. What other secrets might be buried across the solar system, waiting to be discovered? "This isn't an ending, Admiral," she replied, watching as the council members signed the treaty. "It's a beginning. Humanity has earned its place among the stars. Now we need to determine what kind of galactic neighbors we want to be." As the ceremony concluded, Alina's comm unit beeped with a message from Dr. Rahman. "New excavation on Europa showing promising results. Ancient database partially intact. Mentions other species, alliances, wars. History we never knew we had." Elena smiled. The Corin had meant to end humanity's story. Instead, they had helped uncover its true beginning. Whatever came next, humanity would face it united, with the knowledge that they had stared extinction in the face and emerged stronger than ever. The dreadnoughts had turned the tide, but humanity's resilience had won the war. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.